Marcin, good to see you. Thanks for making a bit of time to come and have a chat. Appreciate that. I wanted to kick off our conversation today by reflecting back to you something that you said to me that stuck in my mind because I thought it was quite an impressive statement. You said to me, "I sell software to Silicon Valley." Now I thought, God, that's brave. Trying to convince people in Silicon Valley that your stuff is better than the stuff that they've already got. So I thought that was quite a brave statement. Why do you, I mean, just tell us about what you actually do and why do you sell to Silicon Valley in particular?
Sounds good. Hey, Paul, and thanks for the opportunity and having me on the podcast. Marcin Kierdelewicz, yes, I run Miami, which I founded in 2020 after almost 5 years of building it, like prior to launch as well. So I'm in the business for a while. And look, it is actually connected to the reason why we actually started. Because, back then, I saw the opportunity that with all the like new, cloud native infrastructure, there's a new opportunity to actually start building new type of a software. It was where we didn't have like the AI on a level that we had, at that time. So, there was some more, advanced analytics, in terms of AI. But, I thought actually with those new architectures, we can start doing things better. Okay, this is when I started to, build quite innovative software. Today, everybody talks about, agents, agentic automations and all of that. Back then, when I spoke to analysts, they even didn't have category for that. So I remember, they were talking like, okay, we have no clue really how to
Yeah,
position that
yeah.
because it doesn't fit, what we have. So because it was quite innovative, okay, you also want when you sell it, you also want to sell it in places they will understand what you're building. And
Okay.
Silicon Valley is in the world actually like the most innovative, part of the
Yeah.
world. So very often when I have a calls there, I hear things like, "Oh, don't worry, we have everything here." You're based in London, you kind of guys, you live your own life with your own pace and of innovation and life, right? And very often I hear like, "Oh, we've got
And how
everything."
do you, so let me ask you about that. How do you win them over? Because that was when you said to me, we sell into Silicon Valley. I thought, yeah, that's going to be a tough sell because they, as you just said, they think they've got it all. How do you win them over? Just talk me through that.
It's a mindset. It's a mindset, really. So, what you need to do is um, you need to talk to a lot of people.
Hmm.
There are a lot of people who say they're not interested, whatever, for various different reasons. But there are people that want to stay on top of the things and they want to embrace technology and start using it for their own benefits. Okay, and this is really, I say it, a mindset issue because it's a braveness that somebody needs to be brave and bold enough to say, you know what, there's this little company. I think what they say it's cool, but I don't know if it's really works. What they really do. But
Hmm.
I'm brave enough to say, let's do 6 months engagement and actually see, if we can do what they claim they do. Because when we sell, we also are very much numbers driven. So we always look at your operations growth or value propositions, and we build what we call a path to 10x, how we can 10x, and obviously it is going to take some time to do it. But we are very numbers driven. For us, 10x is not a marketing term. It's like, okay, looking what is your current performance. In operations, it would be like, how much of like, ticket processing you're doing today with your current team, like, how much stuff can you process with your existing team, and all of that versus like, we just 10x it and see actually, how quickly we can move with the current team and technology to actually, 10x that. And then look, it takes always 3 to 5 years. Okay,
Hmm.
so it's not like something that you can get 3 months, 6 months. No, but that 6 months is an initial engagement where we say, look, we're going to learn about your business. You're going to learn actually how to change the way you run your business internally.
And
Okay.
how, let me ask you about that. I mean, you talked about wanting to find brave customers. I mean, how do you find them? I mean, because it's very easy to say, I want brave customers. Right.
Oh,
Okay, how do how do you find them? And how do you work out? I mean, finding customers is always a bit of a challenge. How do you find the brave ones? What is it that you look for? Because that's quite an interesting idea, that.
look. First is, there's no like magic recipe for that, but we are in automation and we do a lot of growth automation and we use it internally actually as well. So look, our initial stage of business development, okay, includes, for instance, a lot of outreach automation. Okay, so there's no magic here. We still go with traditional approach of building who our ideal client profile is.
Mhm.
Okay, so it's going to be a COO, for example, for operations. We kind of look at like what they care about. We come with the messaging, that then they will care about. We kind of, start the conversation that way. But then it's really, like having conversation. Look, we think we're building something fantastic here, something that is really, really innovative. Like, would you like to know more about it? Right? And this is really how we start conversations. And look, still, out of probably 10 conversations, okay, maybe 3, 4 people will say, okay, sounds interesting. I want to have, a follow-up, meeting. But the only, I would say, good the improvement, big improvement that we're doing is, a lot of companies, when they do with outreach, etc., they go with like very generic type of audiences. We
Yeah.
check that it doesn't work, so we go with like multiple like micro targeted approaches, and that's what works, best for us.
Yeah, and when you use the term 10x, I mean that's quite a popular term at the moment. I've heard that quite a lot recently. People saying that they 10x things. I mean, what does that mean in your context? I mean, presumably, tell me I've got this wrong. You're 10xing the speed because you're automating processes. You're 10xing the speed at which those things happen. Is that what you mean? And how do clients respond to that?
Of course. So I agree with you. Everybody talks 10x now. Okay. But we are one of the few that started to talk about 10x, like 6, 7 years ago,
Mhm.
when nobody was really, talking about it, or just
Yeah.
a few. Okay. And for us, it was always, remember, we were always numbers driven. And this is what I love about, Biami, how we run the business, because, marketing is one, side, and, and you need to have a good marketing, but you actually need to deliver. So, if you can deliver with numbers, then that's the best. Look, good example of, 10x in operations is, project we're working on at the moment. They help. It's in the UK. They help clients with processing, housing benefit claims
Right.
for people that are looking, for their housing needs. Okay, to do that, it's quite labor intensive work.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's actually, checking a lot of backgrounds, a lot of different systems, what's available, where is it available, etc., etc., etc. Okay, I was quite surprised that I found out that one person during like 8 hours per day can only process like between 4 to 8 claims,
Mm.
new claims
Mm.
every day. I was thinking like, oh my God, this is like tough job. 8 hours, you
Yeah.
do only four. That means like you really like do 2 hours, you spend 2 hours on one claim.
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, people don't understand how much is involved, do they? And also, I mean, interestingly, how much you can automate. People don't get that.
That's
I don't think.
that's correct. That's
Yeah.
correct. So obviously, we're working with a lot of people that are not very techie savvy. And they just, they understand the technology, they know how to use, computers and all of that. But they're still kind of, need to do that job where you need to, like, let's say, connect with, I don't know, we're doing there almost 20 different systems, to actually check various different
Yeah.
things, right? And it just takes time. And you're absolutely right. People don't even know that now there's a technology that can like help you and do a lot of groundwork for you. So like, it will prepare a lot of data for you, and then you can like, have it in one place, then kind of do assessment and kind of, do a deeper dive into that and kind of, still process it. But like immediately we're looking at, we will probably like take it down to like 30 minutes as a first iteration. And then, of course, later on we will see, because it's typical that once you do it in scale, then you go into an exercise of categorizing, special those requests, because you can always see that, some of them can be grouped and maybe processed even in much more automated way. So, it's a process. And again, we kind of, learning, because each client, each company will have very custom internal processes. Right. So, we kind of build, for that, but that's how it works. So this is, I always say that every manager these days should be aware of, where technology can help you.
Yeah.
Still, most of them don't. It's this is why I like to work with the CEOs that are, again, brave, believe in technology, and say, look, let's bring the right people,
Yeah.
to actually deliver.
Yeah, I mean, technology is just an enabler, isn't it? So the question you got to ask is, what will this enable me to do? That's really, and if it enables you to do something like speed things up that take a long time, I mean, that's great.
100% agree. And enabler, and yes, sometimes you can speed things up, but most often it's not about the speed. When we look at about operations performance, about like how much can you process within a certain period of time. And in the end of the day, you just look at overall numbers. So it doesn't matter, if technology, it doesn't matter if it's still going to take like 2 hours or not. But let's say if we would come and say, okay, you can work on 10 claims at the same time within that 2 hours window. That's an improvement. And that's like, we don't make anything faster. But for example, we enable people to work on, multiple claims at the same time, which brings that performance improvement.
And presumably, I mean, the other benefit here is that it makes life easier for the staff involved, doesn't it? And less boring, presumably.
This is what I always like. I
Yeah.
really call
Yeah.
it less boring, because operations are very important part of the business. Now, every company I talk to, within the operations, they have more requests from the teams that they can actually handle. Like everybody's coming to them and say, can you do more? Can you do more? Can you more? And they always have those piles of papers, on the
Yeah.
desk,
Yeah.
right? So they say like, look, when I finish this, you'll be at the bottom. So it's operations is only certain people can actually do that job, okay? Because you need to have a people that will be very down to details, make
Yeah.
sure that
It's a particular mindset, isn't it?
it is particular mindset. But then, look, we're working with people that in finance, for example, they say, hey, I was doing my job for last 50 years. Okay, like I don't want to change. That's another challenge
Yeah.
we have. But you know what? I always say it's about the experience. It's about like how open-minded you are to innovation. Because it's like self-driving cars. People that didn't have experience will probably say, "Oh, I will never believe, in like getting in a car where there's no driver." But I think actually most of them, when they actually get in and they see like how nice it is, they'll say, "Oh, this
Yeah.
it's a very positive
Yeah.
surprise."
Yeah, people generally respond well to changes that makes their lives better. So, I mean, you're making people's lives better, so I can see why that works. Let me ask you, how did you get on this? I mean, what set you off on this path to do this?
Yeah. So look, so I was working for a company that was helping build infrastructure for early clouds, AWS, Microsoft Azure, and so on. So so that was a time where like completely new architectures start to emerge. Okay, from even hardware and software perspective, it was it was a big change that I was lucky to kind of work and be in, and I was close to that. So actually, I could see it happening. A lot of people didn't see it because then they just saw later on, once AWS was built, they saw like, oh, this is nice service, right? But they didn't know like why is it like that? Why we can do cloud now and we were not able, to do it before and so on. So I was quite early stage of that. And when you build the cloud, it's all about horizontal scaling of like, small elements of infrastructure. And this is very, very new, because if you look at the biggest systems, they call them monoliths, like big oracles, SAPs and so on, the big systems which require a big resources, so big computers, and they like being installed in a specific way. But the limit is always like how much hardware can process of the data. So they will always have some boundary, some limits where they say basically, okay, on this type of infrastructure, we can only reach that amount of data processing. And that horizontal scaling is coming with completely new way of what's possible. Because think of it, I can give you a lot of data, you can chop it into small chunks, and then you can process them all at the same time.
Yeah. So like parallel computing.
Parallel computing, correct.
Yeah.
This is big change, and cloud services actually enable that, quick provisioning of those services, running the service, the commissioning, all of that. That is something that didn't really exist before. So I think I was lucky enough to see it, as a big opportunity. And then I said, look, if it's going to be like that, then we can start building a system that will automate processes in a parallel way, which
Yeah. Yeah.
brings that power
Yeah.
to.
Which is where you get the 10x from, isn't it? That's how it makes it 10 times faster. Yeah.
That's how
Yeah.
I look at it. Correct.
And let me ask you about, so in terms of where you're going with the business, I mean, where do you see the business in, say, 5 years' time? I mean, what does success look like to you?
Yeah, that's a very good question. Paul, do you remember what was IT 5 years ago? It was like,
Um, well, oddly enough, I've just had to replace my laptop because it's 5 years old, and it's
yeah,
now what do they call it? An antique, I think they call it. I
yes,
mean, technology is changing really quickly, isn't it?
yes. So look, there was no ChatGPT 5 years ago. Okay, like nobody even knew that it will come. Okay. So and now, people think that, so ChatGPT moment was, again, new innovation is coming, and people probably don't see it on a daily basis, but all those new LLMs, new,
Yeah,
large language models,
yeah,
when
yeah,
they come, they think they're very similar or just a little bit improvements. No, it's big improvement. So every 6 months now, okay, we're getting a new model that is, okay, stats show only, probably like 10% better than what it was. But actually, that percent better is improvement from 70% to 80%, which if you think of a total, capability of what that model
mm,
can do, it's actually huge improvement. It's like
yeah,
these new models just start understanding a completely new areas that before, we were not able to do. So to give you an example, we just finished a project with the client, deliver the platform for them within 3 months. Okay, we won this project because all other companies, okay, didn't actually agree that it's possible to build it within three
wow,
months.
wow,
Okay, and they were saying like 6, but really 9 to 12 months is like a usual timeline to build it. And we built it within 3 months, and we actually delivered it within 3 months. And still, the biggest bottlenecks in delivering the project is for us to wait for the client to be ready with the next
yeah,
stage
yeah,
progress.
yeah, yeah. So in terms to come back to my question about
Ah,
what does success look like, are you saying that you don't think you can predict what success looks like because we weren't able to predict 5 years ago what the world would look
yeah.
like, or have you got a sense of what you're trying to achieve?
Look, we have the directions that we're going towards. Okay, and of course we have plans. Of course we have,
Yeah.
we use 10x internally as well. But but if you ask me in 5 years time, okay, my biggest prediction is that okay, my business is less than 20 people, but I already say that we probably work like a 200 people business because
Yeah.
of how we operate. And
Yeah.
I think that will scale 10x definitely. So, with that amount of people, you will be able to do that. Okay. One new thing we're starting to build is what people call zero people companies.
Mm.
Okay. In 5 years' time, you're going to have a lot of them because now it takes, 3 to 6 months to establish new business, actually, build a value proposition, operations, growth. Okay. And you will have a lot of businesses that do, little things, but they're like completely fully run by computers.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I mean,
So
whichever way it shakes down, it's going to be an interesting few years, I think. Let me ask you about your personal motivation. I mean, all the entrepreneurs I talk to essentially say that building a business is like riding a roller coaster. There are good days, there are days that aren't so good. What is it about this particular thing that kind of gets you to kind of bounce out of bed and ride that roller coaster? I mean, what is it about this that matters to you so much? Because whenever we've talked, you've come across as incredibly enthusiastic about it.
look, I was lucky enough that, when I started study, 30 years ago, that was already a beginning of big IT revolutions. So I
Mm.
seen like few of them. I've seen how like internet was built. I've seen how Linux was built, open source, all of that. Okay, and I have seen how much it has changed people's lives. You know, so
Yeah.
to me, really, I believe it's a big privilege now to talk to CEOs and founders and owners of the businesses and say, look, I have the knowledge, I have the technology, I know how, how to get you from A to B
Mhm.
that will really significantly transform the way you do business today. And
Mm.
you know what? It's like, it makes me proud,
Mm.
okay? I
Yeah, I
can
can see
go
that.
to the places
Yeah.
and I can say, like, you know what? Look, these people were able to do only that, and they were doing it for 10 years. And there were big consultancies coming and selling them, transformation projects that, would take years, and they still were not able to improve it. And hey, a small company came, 6 months, okay, we kicked off like one of the biggest changes that they've had.
Yeah. I mean, it's tremendously rewarding, isn't it? When you do something and you can see it's useful and valuable to clients. I mean, I get that it's very rewarding that. I mean, I can see that.
And I meet a lot of amazing people,
Yeah.
that really are very open-minded, very, very, open to new things, their kind of, imaginations go very often beyond what I was even like thinking of and all of that. And like working with people like that is something that I really enjoy.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I get that too. I can see that. I mean, it's great to work with people like that. Let me ask you about, let's just talk about how you're going to build the business as you move forward. Let's start off with how do you feel about being the CEO? I mean, I always think it's a really tough gig being the CEO because ultimately all the horrible stuff lands on your desk. I mean, you've got to make sure stuff happens, haven't you? Other people do other things and contribute, but the CEO's kind of got to pull it all together. I mean, how do you feel about that role?
Correct. So there's two, I think, three maybe three actually important aspects on how I look at it is first, you only even before that, first, I believe you should be CEO only if you really enjoy it.
Mm.
A lot of people I see that they want to progress with their professional career because of job titles. Okay, just
Yeah.
because I want to be VP, because I want to be SVP, I want to be C-level and all of that. Okay, and but a lot of people are not ready to be good in those job titles. And for specifically for CEO, I see that one number one challenge is what you've said. Everyone sends me the challenges on a daily basis. But you know what? It it feels painful only at the very beginning.
Mm.
Because later on you actually come up with a framework on how to kind of categorize this type of
It
issues,
becomes
and
the
then
norm, doesn't it? It becomes the norm. It's
it
just the
becomes
way
the
work.
norm.
Yeah.
And I very often tell people, like, we have this, everybody in the company has this way of working. We call it there's 25 minutes to solve the issue or 2 hours. Okay. And for like different types of issues, right? Small or big. And we always say, look, if you spend more than that time that you kind of plan for it, okay, actually talk to somebody.
Yeah.
Talk to somebody, because you can get stuck in. And I say, even if it's me, no problem, just bring it on. Bring it on. I will be available to talk about it, and then within 5 minutes we'll have a clear path of like what the next step should be. Okay, so I always tell people, bring, and really, now after a few years, like it's quite easy for me, okay, to deal with that. So that's number one challenge. The second biggest challenge, or responsibility for CEO, I believe, is the motivation of the other people. Okay, like I expect that from others, similar approach actually to what I have. So like you said, I want to always have a high energy. When it's better to do a job. All your tasks you can probably do within, let's say, 4 hours, if you have a high level of energy, and you will be
Mm.
done with everything for the day, versus your not positive approach to, like, what you have to do, how you're going to do it,
Mm.
etc. And I guarantee it's going to take you 8 hours or 12, and then you will be yeah, even less motivated to come tomorrow, right? So I often jump on a call with the team member and say, how's the energy today? Like, that's what people like know about me. Like, it's like, if I don't see energy in a meeting, like, let's not have a meeting.
Yeah.
Let's find a way, like, how to, I sometimes say to people, look, take a day off. Take the day off. So people sometimes don't understand that sometimes they need a break to recharge.
Mm. Mm.
Go for a walk. Go for 1 hour walk, come back and see if you feel better. Simple things, but showing that type of, again, approach for others, and then you see that they start copying you, like, again, it's a big reward for me, because then we're building like very positive team, and
Yeah.
people who
Yeah.
actually want to contribute, so they don't want to just do the job.
Yeah.
They actually want to contribute and do more. And this is the second. And third, which I'm like not the best at, is hiring, right? Like, as a CEO, you should hire people that will match the culture of the business. So not only skills, I look at less skills, because these days you can learn everything. Okay.
Yeah.
Like, but if you're willing to do it, then you will actually learn, and you will perform well. But if you will treat it as just a job, to earn money, I need to like spend 8 hours somewhere, right? Then that's the challenging, and yes, it's a
Yeah.
big.
I mean, hiring's hard, isn't it? It's really hard to get the right people, and when you've got them, you want to hang on to them. It's been my
That's correct. That's
Yeah,
correct.
yeah. Let me ask you about the company that you're building. I mean, what would you say are the factors, for want of to use a sort of technical word, the critical success factors? What are the things would you say that are making your company so successful?
I think because we're in automation, and we always talk about performance improvement, and we keep it internally. Okay, that is really what helps us you know work internally as a small team, and do a lot. Okay, I think those are kind of principles that we not just sell, we use
Yeah.
it internally. But that's, again, very often, to me, this is just the mindset of how you approach about what you're going to do, what you're going to spend time on, how you're going to do your job. So to me, this is uh it's technology is one thing, but then of course we have this advantage that most of my people that work for me are like very, very technical. Okay. I have even some people that are so technical that they don't want to talk to clients because it's, again, it goes to, the very end of that spectrum where like you like computers more than people.
Yeah, I get that. I mean, I sometimes don't want to talk to clients, but I totally get that. Yeah. And I'm
Yes.
very happy to talk to my computer, especially when it's working properly.
Correct. But you know what? Everybody, it's like that. Everybody will have the areas where they don't feel comfortable
Yeah,
with, on a personal level. But the quicker you actually put yourself in that uncomfortable area, you will actually learn that, it's not as scary as you were thinking about it initially. And then this is again, it's just a learning. It's a skill,
yeah,
right? Soft skills, hard skills, all of that. A lot of people think that they can do only one. I believe everybody can do both, but it's about your experience.
yeah. I mean, I think if people want to learn, they can. I mean, it's
Correct.
all about motivation, as you alluded to earlier on. If people want to learn, they can always learn things. I mean, they may not be world class at everything, but you can always improve if you want it. It's a question of wanting to, really. Let me ask you about the kind of process of building the business. I mean, have you come across any things that have really surprised you as you've been building the business?
Of course. Of course. And,
Give
and
us
a
some
lot.
examples. What sort of things have surprised you?
A lot. Look. One biggest surprise was initially when we were kicking off the business, and I was thinking of the business model. Okay, it was about how we're going to be delivering the projects to the clients, where we think the value is,
Hmm.
because we were doing it in a very traditional way. Okay, so we thought that if we're going to go in a traditional approach, which is, think of it, doing proof of concept for somebody, then an engagement, etc. We thought that people will understand it and people will actually kind of, it's going to be easy conversation and take on it. But one thing that surprised me is, if our approach was, traditional without our kind of our framework on how to do things, people didn't believe that we can actually bring the change.
Right.
Big surprise to me was, you have to own the whole area, not just like
Hmm.
what you do, but also how you do it. And you need to be
Yeah.
innovative in all those elements for people to like see, okay, this is new, this is new, this is new. Now I can see how it might work for me, right? This was like a big change. That was one big change that I did after 6-9 months of launching, because we said, okay, we're not doing the business, the way we were doing. It's like it was taking too long. The conversations, they really they liked all this proof concepts, but again, they didn't believe that transformation can be actually delivered. So
Yeah.
so so that big surprise was actually a positive surprise with all the bad things that were happening during the COVID,
Hmm.
right? Like COVID to me, with all the kind of challenges we had, actually pushed people to use technology more. I was again,
Yeah.
I was lucky enough to use like these Zooms, for my last like 20 years, and to me this is just a normal way of having a meeting. But for a lot of people, it was like new.
There was a huge shift onto things like Zoom, wasn't
Huge,
there? Yeah.
huge. So look, so I always think is, you just need to scan what is happening in the world, because when you build a business, when you improve the business, you actually need to pick the parts that are important and respond to it.
Yeah.
Right? This is this and quickly, as quickly as you can, because that's
And how would you say your values, the things that you personally think are important, how have those shaped the way that you lead the business and have built the business?
I think they shaped a lot, because look, in my personal life, I I like quality of life a lot. And everybody could say they like the quality.
Yeah.
Not everybody even is able to recognize them. You know, not everybody is even once they have it. Not everybody is able to be thankful for like having some
Mm.
quality in it. Because it also takes time. It takes actually a big commitment from people and all of that, right? But I think this is the way that I said, okay, I'm going to build the culture within my business
Mhm.
the way I want. Okay, and I think that definitely shaped the organization and how we work. That that is very often the reason why some people fit, some people don't fit.
Yeah, yeah. And to come back to your point about recruiting people, you've got to find people that have got the technical skills, but you've also got to find people that fit with the kind of culture, haven't you?
100%. I would even say that culture is more important again than skills, especially now in IT, in technology. The new skills are coming, almost every month. Okay, so you have to learn anyway. You have to
Yeah,
learn
yeah.
anyway. So you will have to catch up with everything. But if you don't have culture inside you, like you could probably change, but it just takes too much time, and maybe you can leave that to somebody else.
And let me ask you about another aspect of the CEO's role that I think is interesting. I mean, somebody famous, I can't remember who said that strategy is mainly about what you don't do. And I think there's a lot of wisdom in that statement because there are so many things that you could do. I mean, there are so many things that would distract me. I mean, I'm easily distracted by shiny things. There are so many things that you could do if you wanted that you can be distracted by. One of the challenges is working out, first of all, what should I focus on? And I don't do those things, but I do these things. And then staying focused on them. I mean, what's your take on that process? How do you handle that as the CEO?
100% agree with that. And we actually saw it at Miami as well. Because look, we do process automation at scale as a foundation of everything that we do. And this is quite, a generic offering.
Mm,
You could say it would fit into like every space, and we could say, we do everything. But actually, this is exactly the point you've raised. Is if you do everything, then you will be engaged in a lot of places, and you will learn in each of those places, but a little, a little, a little. So you're gonna have a little,
yeah.
knowledge in everything. You're focused, like we actually said, look, we're gonna do automation for three different areas. That's basically operations, value, and growth. Okay, but because we said and we categorize these projects only that way, and we have now specific templates, solutions, integrations, what's possible, all of that. Okay, that actually helped us to like build a lot of experience in ops, a lot of experience in growth, a lot of experience how you bring value, how to bring improve the value proposition of the business. So focus is definitely important. And look, very often we have a conversations with client that they would like to do an engagement in a certain way, and we say no to that. I've mentioned, I think probably at the beginning, we do this initial 6 month engagement.
Yeah.
We call it lab to kind of learn their business from them to learn like what's possible, etc. And this is, we guarantee ROI after 6 months, all of that. But a lot of clients will say, oh, we just want to have a fixed project, can you quote like, fixed price, etc. And we say, look, no, because what we're talking here is we're going to bring a change to your business. I cannot estimate now how quickly your people will be able to change,
Mm,
right? So it is important to stay focused. Focus helps you get the knowledge, improve the way you actually operate as well. And then, it's like builds you like all these Lego blocks to kind of actually shape, whatever you're building,
mm.
right? And then it's much easier conversation for you, even as the CEO of everybody, if you have this framework on how to do things, not just with like, what you're going to do, what technology, but actually how to do it, what are the challenges and all of that. They becomes part of, that that area of knowledge that you had. And again, it definitely helps with making your conversation much easier.
Yeah. One of the other things that interests me, particularly at the moment, is the way because AI is changing things so rapidly. I mean, we were talking earlier on how the CEO's job is quite a tough gig. But that amount of change is also tough on the staff, isn't it? Because they've got to adapt as quickly as you have. What is your take on how you build resilience into the team because they have to deal with stuff that goes wrong. They've got to deal with a lot of change that's happening quickly. They've got all sorts of different clients in all different parts of the world, etc., etc. It's tough on the team as well as being tough on the CEO. I mean, it's tough in a different way sometimes, but nonetheless, it's how do you build resilience? I mean, what's your take on how you talked about getting the right people on the bus? How do you make sure they can deal with that level of change and the kind of things that come with that?
Correct. So, I try to make the change part of your daily life
Right. So it's
because
normal. If change is normal then.
for us, approach is, for instance, we do even these things that, every Friday we try to work like half a day, up to half a day. You can even take it off if you like, if you're done with whatever you're supposed to do. But we say, use that Friday on your personal development. Okay. And a personal development can be like you learn skills that you've never had, or you actually learn something in your area, but something new, etc., etc. And if you build that habit and you give it almost as a benefit, people like it because
Mm.
this is like, oh, I need to do a job on Friday afternoon. Reality is you wouldn't do anyway because like Friday afternoon, everybody thinks about the weekend already.
Or
So
goes to the pub.
or goes to the pub. So okay, still go to a pub, but maybe like read something there,
Yeah.
right? Something new. So that's my way of like bringing the change. I'm not the best at executing on that with everybody, and this is actually where I see, for example, like the area of improvement for me. But it's also, I think, just with some people, it's very difficult to predict how they will actually
Mm.
find themselves in the job, because when you do interviews, etc., you hear like all this amazing stuff about what everybody can do everything. and then when you say, okay, so here you actually can do it. and then you just see that it doesn't work. And if it doesn't work, then the earlier you make a decision to like ask that person to maybe go and work for somebody else, the better is for everybody. But to me, again, that change is like every day. Even to myself, every day I say, look, to me, I have this saying for a very, very long time. Is like, I need to learn something every day. And to me, the day I will stop learning is the day I will die.
Yeah.
Because like it's really about the experience, and you're
It's
right.
also more fun.
Of course,
Yeah.
of course, of course. Now, with all AI, you have opportunity to learn it, but I see something else already. I see that our people trust AI so much that they all not become delusional, but they think like that AI will do everything for them, and they for example are not able sometimes to find the issue that I brought. So it's called hallucinations, or just AI kind of hallucinates, you know
Yeah.
in various areas, more or less, but it does. So again, for you it's a tool, so you still should be managing that tool.
Mm.
Okay, and being able to or make a part of the process like verification, because you can do that as well. But don't be just the blind kind of say, write me this software, and like it will actually write to you for you this software. But you have to have skills to actually
Yeah. It's,
know
it's,
if
it's
it's
like
good.
it's like the skill of managing a person. You've now got to have a skill for managing AI, haven't you? Really? I mean, it's just a
100%,
skill
yeah.
set. Yeah. Let me ask you, you mentioned the word learning. Let me ask you about the things that you've learned. I mean, what would you say when you look back over the last few years? What would you say has been the most difficult decision you've had to make, and what have you learned from that?
Look, I think I've made a lot of difficult decisions in my life. Okay, look, it's when you try to do a lot, you will face challenges.
Yeah.
Okay, and this is both professional, personal, and all of that. This goes across.
It's
Okay,
life.
it's life.
Yeah.
Life is tough. Okay, okay. It's your job to make sure that it's not tough every day for you.
Mm.
But but of course, unexpected things happen, and I believe, and this is one thing I think I've learned a lot is, when you manage your levels of energy,
Hmm.
if you're very high, it can go also very low. Okay. And I was like that. I was like that, I was just, some days were like amazing, some days, I saw everything like in really kind of,
The roller coaster.
correct, roller coaster. And then actually I've learned that there are psychological frameworks and solutions for you to be able to manage that. And to me, it was like, wow. So
So how do
that
you
was,
manage that? I mean, it's a very good point. That how do you do that? I mean, what's the approach that you use to manage that?
look. It's apparently this is how our brain works. That if something bad happens, okay, it escalates in our heads
Yeah,
more than actually it needs to,
yeah,
okay, and it takes 90 seconds for it to like stabilize. Okay. So first thing to me was like, if something comes to you, really, really bad. Okay. Of course, you need to get familiar with, what's the situation. Okay. But wait, you know, don't make the decision like, somebody would say,
yeah,
okay,
yeah.
something broke. Oh
Stop
no, you're
and think.
fired.
Stop and think.
Yes. Yes. So calm yourself down first, right? And then, look, because that helps you also to get the perspective on the situation. And, if you've got perspective, then actually you can make the right decisions,
Yeah, yeah. I
right?
always think it's helpful to sleep on it, actually. I like to give myself, if I've got to make a really difficult decision, I like to sleep on it. Let me ask you about something that's kind of related to that. I mean, I think there are two kinds of people in the world. There are people that make mistakes and people that pretend they don't, right? Most entrepreneurs I talk to are very good at identifying when they've made a mistake because they need to fix it. Otherwise, they'll go bankrupt in the long run. What would you say is the biggest mistake that you've made, and what have you learned from it?
The biggest, wow. So look, my approach to that is actually, I believe, the only person that doesn't make mistake is the person that doesn't do anything.
Yeah,
Because like you mentioned before, we're not perfect like human beings, okay? We're just good in something we're not so good. But again, this is part of experience. So it's very important for us to actually admit that we do mistakes. We don't make always the best decisions. That, now we can like you can go to somebody else and you can ask, do you think, what I want to do is right?
yeah,
So you can always ask for that type of help, and you can kind of improve and get others' opinion, and ability to listen to that is also a skill, because a lot of CEOs, I believe, you've spoken to, are like really tough people, and they will like say, no, only what I say is right. This is my business. Okay, but this
some CEOs are like that. I wouldn't say all of them.
not all of them, not
No.
all of them. But again,
Well, just to come back to my question though, what was the biggest mistake that you
yeah.
made? I mean, I like you, I've made loads of mistakes. What was the biggest one that you've made, and what do you learn from it?
Look, I think I think the biggest mistake, and this is both professional and personal, is actually, was not to believe in a level of confidence that you can build within yourself.
Okay. So mindset. It's about getting the
It
mindset.
is it, it is a mindset. It is a mindset because, again, like skills. Look, what is the problem that we like didn't deliver something, or a client was upset and all of that, or look, I had a project in the past when we went to big public sector organization. We were working on they gave us access to their database and everything, and they like, we didn't even know, but they gave us like admin access to everything. And then we like made a mistake. We delete records for last 2 years. Okay.
Really?
And they didn't have backup. Okay, they didn't have backup. That was a big
So
mistake.
that probably caused a few heart attacks, didn't it? I suspect in the public
It,
sector organisation.
including almost me because I was like skiing at that time and I got this call, and we said
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
okay,
yeah.
we've got some issues. So but look, those are big mistakes, but again, are they really that big?
What did you learn from that though?
well
That
well
experience.
I try to learn from every mistake because improvements come with tiny improvements every day.
Yeah,
So look, for us, part of that was basically, when we get access to databases, that was easy to learn. It's basically, ask the client, you have a backup, you don't, you make a backup first,
yeah.
okay, and kind of,
They're
like
very practical stuff.
this is very practical, correct. It's much better to like learn about, yes, your mindset, about your personality, a lot of things where, I've learned over the years that, you know there is a concept of personality assessment. And it amazed me, how you can build a personality assessment for a specific individual. Okay,
Mm.
that outcome will be like how you should talk to that person, what's important for them, and so on and so on. And if you actually like align with that, how it actually allows you to not manipulate the conversation, but I would say it's like steer it or own that conversation actually without the other person knowing it, right? Which is it's almost manipulation. But again, those are, I believe that there's a lot of areas in our brain that we are not aware of yet.
Mm.
Okay. So, all these new biotech companies that put chips in your brains and kind of, try to like learn and download information, etc. Right. I believe this is going to be like a big, powerful,
Yeah.
almost a
Effective
weapon.
technology. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
And let me ask you about the flip side to the mistakes. I mean, what's the bit that you enjoy the most? What's the most fun?
I think the most fun is to have as happy life as you can,
Mm.
right? So look, we're talking about professional, but to me, values like family are probably actually number one, even more than the business. So, to me, spending time with the kids, seeing them happy, and
Yeah,
and
I get that.
being around that is actually a biggest joy that I get.
Yeah.
At work, what I like, for instance, a lot is when I see people doing their jobs in the teams without me. Okay, because that also gives me some sort of pride that, with the setup that we did with configurations and all of them tools and everything, like we kind of empowered people
Yeah.
to do big things, and that's again very
Yeah.
nice
Yeah.
feeling.
It's great to see people doing well, isn't it? Let me ask you a couple of final questions before we wind up. If you were starting again, knowing what you know now, is there anything you do differently if you were starting from scratch?
Look, I hear that question very often, but first I wouldn't be able because my knowledge at that time,
Mm.
and the circumstances we're in were whatever we were in. So, you cannot take, I would say, of course, if I would know that there will be LLMs, or if I would know who's going to win a Premier League, of course, I'll go and do bets and, and use that to advantage. But it doesn't work like that.
No, that's
Life
good enough.
Right? Life doesn't work like this. I think again, it's more important that you learn the skill to observe what is happening around you and react to the
Yeah.
important,
Yeah. Let me
change.
ask, let me ask the question in a slightly different way then. If you had to give one piece of advice to somebody starting out, what would that piece of advice be?
Work on your mindset and positivity. Work on your mindset, positivity. I had one boss in my past, that, look, I was born in Eastern Europe, kind of, living in the Western world, and he was actually from Chicago, and I was working for a company based in LA. And the very early stages, if you're learning, and being raised in Eastern Bloc, it was, at that time, okay, You come as a very direct person, very detail oriented, but also like very close to what's possible,
Mm.
and also very often actually see things that if you don't see the solution for something, you're naturally negative. Okay. And my boss told me, and it was I'm super grateful for that advice. He told me, you know what? Spend a day without saying a no
Mm.
for the whole day. You know what? And I do it sometimes with my kids, that advice. Because you, if you spend a day without saying no to anything, somehow again, our brain kind of, reformat itself to see just the, only bright sides of life.
Yeah.
Maybe not only, but
It's
many,
about
many more.
teaching. It's about teaching yourself to be positive, isn't it? It's
It
like most things, it can be learnt. So
it is. It
yeah.
is because again, okay, there are certain things that are difficult to deal with. Like, if you lose somebody in your life, something really bad happens, then okay, those are the moments where okay, you cannot or it's difficult to recover, you cannot bring them back. But on a professional side, I believe like everything can be fixed.
Yeah, yeah. One of my builders always used to say that to me. He used to say, "We can do anything. Question is how much it costs." Marcin, thank you for taking a bit of time out to come and have a chat. I know you're super busy. I really appreciate that. What a great story. And carry on selling into Silicon Valley. That cheers me up to think that you're going and selling tech to the people that created it. So I think that's absolutely brilliant. So like I say, thank you for coming on and good luck going forward.
Well, thank you for having me here, and thanks for the opportunity. Wishing you all the best as well.
Pleasure. Cheers, Marcin. Bye bye.